Jordan, roll, roll, Jordan, roll. I wanna go to heaven when I die. Here, old Jordan, roll, oh, roll, Jordan, roll, roll, Jordan, roll. I wanna go to heaven when I die. Here, old Jordan, roll. Good afternoon. I was born a slave in Bucktown, Maryland. Y'all know where that is? Well, Bucktown is on the eastern shore of Maryland, Dorchester County, near Cambridge. I was born Bucktown. Well, what y'all looking at me like that for? You ain't think I gotta stay a slave all my life, did you? Well, ever since I can think, I know that I gotta be free. Now I reckon you're wondering how I know that. All my life, I used to see folks that looked just like me. They free. The master set them free when they reach a certain age. Now, some of them keep the promises, some of them didn't. Now, my mama, she's supposed to be set free when she reached 45 years of age, and if master had her freer, then I'd be free. But being free ain't make me no difference, because I'm still a slave. And what being born into slavery, 'twas made clear to me. Oh, I was around 6 years old. Master Broders, now he used to give me notes to carry from him to some of the other farms up the road from us. Sometimes I used to have to walk near about 5 miles. And if I stopped along the way to play and get caught, sometimes I'd be beat for that. Can you imagine any of your children walking 5 miles by themselves? At 6 years old, I hate slavery, because I know 'twas bad. Now, anybody that's against it, I liked. Now, I was around 9 years old when I first started hearing stories about Nat Turner. Now, he a slave that, he wants slavery, he wants freedom so bad, he wouldn't have died for it. And in August 1831, he laid a raid down Southampton, Virginia, against his master. He killed up about 50 more other families. And Mama, she tell me, make sure I don't let master hear me telling stories about Ned. And she said, be sure to be careful of the darkies I talked about him too, because they might go back and tell. But I thought Ned Turner is the bravest slave I done ever heard of. And at 9 years old, I knowed I want to do all I can to help free my peoples. So August 1831, when Nat lead that raid, that's cast in my head forever. I had great affection for John Brown. He reminded me of Nat Turner. Now, he a white freedom fighter, willing to die to bring her into slavery. Now, I reckon 'tis these here two men is the reason that later on in life, I'm willing to die for my own freedom. You see, I done reason out in my head that 'tis two things that I's got rights to: death or my liberty. And if I can't have one, I would have the other. Now, a Quaker man asked me on one of my trips back to Dorchester County, "Now, Harriet, what you think about what Nat Turner done down in Virginia a few years back?" Well, I asked him what he thought. I think it's shameful. All them decent people he killed. Decent people? Huh? People who own slaves and treat them worse than animals? Then he starts to stammering then, because I know he knowed he done stepped in a great big pile of you know what. All them women and children he killed. Well, do you know more than 50 people was murdered? I gave him a look that turned his face just as white as a sheet. I said, "Now, them 50 decent people that you's talking about, that's them 50 white folks that Nat and his bunch killed. Well, what about the thousands of slaves that done been murdered in bondage by the slave owner? Ain't that shameful too? Then he said, then I tell him, now I ain't saying what Ned done was right. I ain't saying it was right for him to kill him. He said, well, thank God you agree with me. A while I thought you were on his side. Sir, do you believe in God and his word? Well, what do he say? Well, I don't see why that got nothing to do with what we talking about here. Oh, now you see, that right there, that's where you're wrong. God's word said, vengeance is mine. Sir, do you know how many slaves done been beat, starved, murdered, raped, and worse? Whole lots of them done had the children sold off, families split up. Now I knows what I was talking about, because it done happen to me and my family. Well, why you think I run away in 1849? That man shut his mouth and ain't said not one more word to me till after we meets up with Thomas Garrett up in Delaware. Then he said, oh, Harriet, vengeance is mine? Well, do that apply to what Nat Turner done? I told him, sure it do. God's word for everybody. I just want you to see what it would take for a man of God to take matters in his own hands. You see, Nat, he a preacher of God's word, and God doesn't tell him that slavery is wrong. Now, getting back to your question, what I think of Ned Turner, well, I think he a great man who done stand up against slavery and try to free his people. Now, tell me one thing, sir. What would you do if a man come in your house, take your wife to his bed? Well, he ain't said nothing, so I tell him, oh, you get a gun and you blow that man's brains out. Now, did I answer your question, sir? Oh, and another thing, I admire John Brown too. He another freedom fighter that didn't mind putting his life on the line to bring her in to slavery and the free enslaved peoples. You see, don't nobody know what slaves go through every day. Oh, they can't know. Not unless they done lived it. Then I reach out my hand and and I tells him, now I want to thank you, sir, for all your help. And when they's walking on away from me, I hear Thomas Garrett tell him, oh, now she's smart as they come, a true abolitionist. I done seen a whole lots of stuff in my lifetime. Y'all don't know. Don't nobody know all the stuff I done seen. Whole lot. Nobody knows the trouble I see. Nobody knows but Jesus. Nobody knows the trouble I see. Glory, hallelujah. Sometimes eyes up, sometimes eyes down. Oh, yes, Lord. Sometimes eyes almost to the ground. Oh, yes, Lord. Oh, nobody knows the trouble I see, glory, hallelujah. Oh, excuse me, y'all. This just sleeping sickness. It just come over me all at once when I least expect it. I remember one time I running from a couple of slave catchers, and all of a sudden I just fall down, sleep, right by the side of the road. Now, if they had just had some dogs or looked hard enough, they'd have seen me laying right there, fast asleep. And when I wakes up, I can see and hear them. They talking about me. I heard one of them say, now, you know, this here nigger, Moses, well, now, oh, she caused whole lots of trouble for the plantation owners down here on the Eastern Shore. Well, do you know that each one of them slaves she's stealing is on the market, they's worth between $1,500 and $2,500 a head? Other one said, well, now, Lord, I sure wish we could catch her today, because I can use that money, buy me a couple of slaves, help me work my farm. And they tell me she a fine-looking gal, too. Might even be able to use her as a breeder. Then I hear the other one say, now I done heard she can pull a wagon or lift a tree all by herself, so I don't know whether she got to be any good for making no babies or not. And the other one tell him, well then, I reckon I just had to use her for sport then. Now I was determined I ain't got to let that happen. Because if I do, oh, Daddy, oh, he'd be real disappointed in me. Because you see, he done learned me everything I need to be able to survive out here on the run. But one thing Daddy can't learn me is how to act. Now, I reckon you could say, I born actress. Oh, I could fake crying, being scared, crazy, and then just being quiet as a mouse. Take the time I passing through my former master's hometown. I disguised myself as this here old crazy woman. I bought me a couple of chickens. I put one of them up under each arm, you know, and I walking along there, mumbling, and then all of a sudden, I looks up. Here come my master, old master, he walking straight to me. Oh, I turned them chickens loose, and they scared. I take off running. I light out behind them. Chick, 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 chick. Come here, chicken. Come here, come here, come here. Let me catch you. Master wants some chicken for supper. Please, please, let me catch you. Lord, master gonna beat me. Please, let me catch you, chicken. Come here. Lord, them folks stand there looking at me. And old master, he walked right on by me, killing himself, laughing. Well, the man he ain't even know who I was. Lord, I tell y'all, now them some funny times and some scary times. And all my friends, and they real concerned for my safety now, you know, because of that fugitive slave law. And they tell me, Harriet, just after 10 years now, it's time for you to start thinking about slowing on down or stopping, because before you end up like Ned Turner and John Brown. See, both of them hung. But ain't want to stop, though. I want to free every slave I can. Now, I free 1,000 slaves. Could have freed 1,000 more of them if they just realized they slaves. And I tells my friends, Mr. William Steele, Mr. Thomas Garrett, and Mr. Frederick Douglass, that when the time come for me to stop, the Lord gonna let me know. Now, Frederick, well, he come to see me when he find out I was raising money for another trip. He tell me, Harriet, it's time for you to stop this. there's a whole lot more you can do to help the cause. But you need to stop this now. I tell him, Frederick, I can't. Because I done promised God that I ain't got to stop till all my peoples are free. And some of my family, they still enslaved. He said, but do you realize that there's a bounty on your head? There's a whole lot of folk looking to catch you, Harriet. It is too dangerous out there now. I looked dead at him. I said, it's too dangerous for my family. Because my sister, she's still enslaved. Her 2 children with her. Now, what happened? What'll happen if she gets separated from her? Do you know what he tell me? Get some other conductors to help me, I tell him, but Frederick, I can't, because they get caught. Then they tell all my connections and secrets on the Underground Railroad. Then he said, well, you're going to have to stop soon anyway, because there's a civil war coming. Harriet, people on both sides are going to fight. Now, there are whole lots of people talking against slavery, and it's a whole lot of them still holding on to it. I'm going to talk to Abraham Lincoln about it. I thought to myself, I don't know where Abraham Lincoln stand on the issue of slavery, because he just soon leave us stuck in slavery after destroying the Union. And then when Frederick was getting ready to leave, he tell me, Harriet, one more thing. I don't think you ought to go to Harper's Ferry. Now, John Brown, he's a good man and all that, yes. But I just think his plan to attack that armory is doomed to failure. You see, he just does not have enough help to succeed. Now, I ain't seen Frederick, ain't heard from him for a long time after that. But then I did get a letter from him telling me that, except for John Brown of sacred memory, he ain't knowed of nobody else who so willingly endured more peril and hardship to help free enslaved peoples than me. Out of respect for my friends, I makes one more trip back down south, because they had concern for my safety. 'Twas November 1860. Went back there to get my sister Rachel and her 2 children, Ben and Angerine. I arrived in Dorchester County, just for the first snowfall. I was in real high spirits, excited like this here last mission. And from my cold-hardened place in the woods there, I send my scout to take word to Rachel that I done come to get him. And I tell him, now you tell her, don't she tell nobody that she getting ready to go, and to make sure she don't let nobody know that I was out here in the area anyway. I'm starting to wonder what done happened to my scout when he finally show up. So I asked him, and he's by himself. So I asked him, well, why Rachel? Why the children? He said, Moses, Rachel, she done gone home. And Ben and Angerine, well, they ain't never showed up. I said, well, did you look for them? Did you try to find them? What? I reckon I scared the poor man half to death, because he's standing there shaking like a leaf. He said, yeah, Moses, I try to find him. I even tried to get Leroy Jackson to help me look for him, but he wants $30. And since I ain't had no money, I figure I better not to push him. I tell him, well, you done the right thing, because $30, now that whole lot of money. And Leroy, he lied to turn me in for half that much. Then he tell me, Moses, all them folks that used to help you, they ain't down here no more. They done gone away from down here. That fugitive slave law Oh, it got whole lots of slave catchers out there on the loose. They patrolling all down the woods, looking at all, watching all the safe houses. Oh, and that's Marshall. Oh, he spec everybody. Look, I done tells you, them folk that used to help you, they done going away from down here. Lord, poor Rachel. God rest her soul. Why should I feel discouraged? And why should the shadows come? Why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend, oh, is he. His eye, his own, a sparrow, and I know he watches me. Well, 'tis too late for Rachel and the children. I done come down here to get them, but God, he done said different. Well, but one thing left for me to do now. See if there's anybody else that ready to travel. So I asked my scout if he knowed anybody, and he said he think the Innes family is ready. So I tell him, you tell them that if they's ready to go, to meet me right here on this here spot at dog, and tell them I ain't never lost a passenger, so if it's going with me, be here. Now, I know the ship family, and I'm pretty sure they gonna be there. And that dog, well, they show up. You know, we start out right away. And Lord, we won't go on but about a mile or two before we walk dead into a terrible snowstorm. Ain't had nothing but some little thin blankets to put around us, and I carried the baby in a basket. And when the snowfall stopped, it turned into a cold, hard rain, sleeting or something other. By the time that stopped, I reckon we must have looked like walking icicles or something other. But I know one thing, all of us is glad to see that safe house up yonder in the distance. Because you see, I done tell my passengers that when we get there, we're going to be able to sit down, rest up a little bit, get something to eat in our bellies. But the Innes, well, they scared to go up there. Tell me that looked like a place Patty Cannon might be hiding. I had to laugh at them. I said, Patty Cannon? I ain't heard nobody mention that woman's name in years. Patty Cannon was a white woman slave catcher, and she used to run a gang, and she'd catch the slaves and sell them back into slavery, but that woman been dead. I tell them, no, this here's my friend's house. Done stopped here many a times on my trips, but they still scared. So I tell them, look here, y'all just stay here. Wait right here, let me go up here, check on things. So I go up there. I gets there, getting my secret knock. Ain't no answer. So I knocks again. A while the window flied up, and a strange man boy said, who is that? Well, who is that? Well, that ain't that. So I asked for George, but that ain't my friend's voice. And the man said, he ain't here. He's running away from round here for harboring niggers. And you'll be going away from round here too. if you knows what's good for you. Now, you see, the tone in that voice there done heard it a many a day on that broder's plantation. Lord, I tell y'all, I back beating that door so fast you'd have thought lightning done struck near me. And I'd take off running across that field so fast you'd have thought I was flying. Because I know it wasn't going to be long before that man run straight to town, tell everybody, including that marshal, that there's a bunch of niggers out there on the loose. I gets back there. I knowed I had to hurry up, find somewhere for us to hide. But where? I didn't know what to do, so I had to ask God. I just prayed, and I asked the Lord to help me. Lord, to tell me what to do. Please, help me. No sooner I finished praying, I hear God's voice just as clear as day. Take your people through the swamp to the island. Have them lay down in the tall grass. They'll be safe there. All right, y'all, get up, let's go, move, I said. As soon as we gets to the island, well, them folks, they started complaining. I reckon 'twas just about like the people done Moses when they brung them out of Egypt. 'Tis cold out here. I was hungry. My feet tired. I was tired. I want something to eat. Moses, that ground that you telling us to lay down, that ground wet. I gets mad when I lost my temper. I said, look here, 'tis raining out here, for God's sake. What you expect the ground to be but wet? Now, I look at them, tell them that they're scared, want to turn around. I tell them, now look here, y'all's on the Underground Railroad now. This here train is going one way, north. Now, there's a whole lot of folks out here looking to catch you. Now, I ain't gonna let that happen. And ain't nobody leaving this here island, not till I says so. So you might as well lay on down there in them weeds like I done tell you, because there ain't nothing we can do now but wait till dark. Now, after I gets them settled down, we heard a man's voice at the edge of the swamp. So I ease up, trying to see who 'twas. And Lord, I couldn't believe my eyes. 'Twas a man dressed up in Quaker clothes, and he walking back and forth along the edge of the swamp there, talking to himself. But I can't make out what he's saying, so I ease up a little bit closer. Lord, this here's what that man said. My wagon stands in the barnyard of the farm just north of the swamp. Horse in the stable, harness on the hook. And at nightfall, I went looking for the farm. And everything is just like that man done said. Oh, I hurried up, hitch up that horse and wagon, get back there, pick up my passengers, and Lord, I tells y'all, it takes me weeks to get us to Auburn, New York. But we arrived there safe on December 28, 1860. Now that my last mission is finished, I know that I had to wait on the Lord for him to tell me what he wants me to do next. I got to wait on you, Lord. I just gotta wait for you to lead me in the right direction. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. Lord, I was tired. I'm weak. I'm worn through the storm, through the night. Lead me to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord.